welcome to day 2 of Christmas in July on the Little Bay Stampin' blog. This is today's Christmas in July card project. This is the completed card here, and I am going to show you the technique that I use to create these rays here. It's a really simple, fun inking technique. The stamp set that I use for this card is called First Christmas. Now, as you can see on my card, I was kind of going for a little bit of a rustic feel, which is why I chose to use the crumb cake ink for the rays of light. You could, of course, do that in, for example, so saffron and have it be more like, you know, sunshine, or you could even do like in Pool Party or another light color just to have a very, very subtle effect. But I was going for a more rustic look on this card, so that's why I chose to do it in the crumb cake ink. So to start out on this card, I just have a very vanilla panel that measures 3.5 by 4 3/4. So I'm using a T-square ruler, and I'm going to measure in about 1 3/4 inches from the bottom. And then I'm going to use my ruler to draw a straight line across the panel, and that is going to mark off the space where we're going to stamp our sentiment. So the first thing I need to do is stamp this Manger silhouette image, and I'm going to be using Black Stays on ink because that's what I have handy on my desk. And I am going to be using my Stamp-A-Majig because I want to make sure that I can get the legs of the manger lined up really nicely with that line that we drew. So I'll just ink this up, push it into the corner of my Stamp-A-Majig, straight down, straight up. Okay. And now I can align those legs with the line that I drew and make sure that the image is centered. And now I want to make sure that my stamp is really, really well inked. And again, I'll put this into the corner of my Stamp-A-Majig, stamp straight down. I can remove my tool, press really, really hard, make sure to get some good coverage. And lift straight up. And that is actually a pretty perfect silhouette stamp. These, I have a hard time stamping these style stamps, I'll be honest with you. And I just have a couple post-it notes here, and these are actually really cool post-it notes. They're the whole note, except for just a little bit at the bottom. The whole note is sticky. And these are really, really awesome for masking techniques because they stick beautifully. So I am just going to line these up with that line that we drew. And I'm going to use 2 to get all the way across the bottom, or all the way across the line, excuse me. Okay, and that is going to give us, so we just have the inking up at the top, and it's going to be nice and clear where we're going to stamp our sentiment on the bottom. Now, the other things that you're going to need to do this technique are a classic ink pad, and again, I'm using crumb cake. A little scrap of cardstock. It really doesn't matter what color this is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter the size. You can tell this is really a scrap. I couldn't get the sentiment to stamp when I was making my sample card. And a sponge dauber. And I really like these fingertip size ones. Or you could use a wedge of Stampin' Sponge. That would work great for this technique as well. So to get started, you just want to kind of eyeball the center of your card. And I'm just going to make a little tick mark right kind of where the center is. And that is where, even though you can see on my sample card, I don't have the rays down here, But this little mark in the center is where all of my inked rays are going to originate from, so you get a nice kind of circular feel. Okay. So what you want to do, I'm actually going to tilt this to the side. It's easier for me to kind of move the cardstock around this way as I'm going. So I'm going to start down here in the bottom corner. And I'm going to get my sponge dauber inked up. And now I'm going to take my scrap piece of cardstock and I'm going to take any edge and line it up between this point that we drew in the middle of the cardstock and wherever I want it along this edge. So I'm going to start with sort of a small ray here. So I'll just align it kind of like that. And the point that we drew is right down here, so I have it. So that's where my cardstock, this kind of serves as a mask. That's where it starts, right down here. I'm just going to get off a little bit of the extra ink off my sponge dauber. And I'll just go in and rub my sponge just right along the edge of my cardstock mask. And I'm being careful to only go up to the silhouette stamp and not, I got a little bit of ink in here, but you want to just be careful to go only on the outside of your stamped image. Then all you need to do is just move your mask, keeping the bottom portion lined up with that little tick mark we made. And I'll do the same thing, just rub right along the edge of that cardstock. Now I'm using very light pressure and I'm kind of leaning my sponge dauber a little bit so that the most of the weight in where I'm rubbing is right along that edge, so you get a darker edge and then it kind of fades out. So we'll just keep going. You just line up the bottom with that tick mark we drew and the top with wherever you want the next ray to be. Again, being careful to only ink on the outside, the outer edge of the stamped image. And you'll just keep working your way around. Start off with light pressure. You can always add more ink, but you can't take it away. So there you go, you kind of get the idea. You would just keep working your way all the way around, and then I like to put a little bit of ink down here just so it doesn't look like it comes out of nowhere. You kind of give it a horizon, and I would do the same thing over here. And then all you need to do is remove your post-it notes and go ahead and erase this line, and you got a really nice clean line. So here's my finished card project again, and in terms of designer paper, for the most part I used this awesome little paper stack. It's a smaller format, it's 4.5 by 6.5. Great for card making, great for matting photos, if you're doing a Christmas card with photos, or for matting a photo on your scrapbook pages. Let me just flip through this for you real quick and you'll get an idea. You get, I think, 4 of each pattern. They are double-sided, so it's great for 3D projects as well. Really beautiful, fun prints. So all the designer series paper on this card is from this Festival of Prints paper stack, with the exception of this little dark brown polka dot bit here, which is from the Candlelight Christmas designer series paper collection. I also use these really awesome designer naturals buttons. There's 3 different styles in here. Thanks for joining me for day 2 of Christmas in July, and I hope you'll join me again tomorrow for day 3. Thanks for watching, and happy stampin'. Bye-bye.